Hello, everybody. Welcome. I am Doc G, and this is the Wellness Revolution with Dr. Robert L. Wiedemann, and of course, our friend Marvin Robb, who is part of this organization. Welcome, guys.
Good
You're welcome.
evening.
We got some
This evening,
exciting stuff tonight for y'all, haven't we, Dr. Wiedemann?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Marvin is back with us, and he's going to be doing presentation tonight, and I'm going to be making comments here and there and discussing it. And so, looking forward to it. What's your topic tonight, Marvin?
Well, we're going to basically,
If you have a
we
topic.
have a, well, do I have a presentation? Yeah, it's all right here, right in right between both of my ears. But what I want to do is basically give my presentation as if I was just walking to 7-Eleven and I met this disabled vet. He had some answers about his health challenges, right? Well, I don't have a presentation prepared, so I'm just going to have to talk to him like Dr. Wallach has taught me about. Oh, okay. Well, so let's talk about our disabled vets for a second. Many of you out there who are listening to this podcast or watching it know of a disabled vet, or you have a family member who's a disabled veteran. I myself did 20 years in the military, retired Navy, and I have service-connected disability. Now, for many years, I did not apply for my disability, which I was entitled to. So let me kind of explain how this works. So that way, you veterans or people who you can maybe educate them a little bit and get them pointing in the right direction. First of all, there's a lot of veterans organizations out there that are willing to help you, but they're not going to go looking for you. That's the key. You have to be the one, as a veteran, you have to be the one to seek out their services in order to gain this free counseling about how to gain access to your veterans disability benefits. If you are a retired military, you have a pension, that's totally separate from your VA disability. Many veterans do not understand that. Now, way to happen is that the Congress has passed a law that protects a veteran. They're required to take care of that veteran. It doesn't matter if you did 2 years active duty or 20 years or full career, 30 years. By law, Congress has to set every year money aside, and that's called the VA budget, the Veterans Affairs budget, and that's almost $300 billion a year. That money is set aside to take care of that veteran. So if you serve in the military, honorably discharged, you have access to VA healthcare. VA healthcare allows you to go down to a local VA facility, or they will pay you, reimburse you for your mileage to drive if you have to drive a certain distance for this health care. So many veterans who take advantage of this stuff, but what they don't know is that they have access to, you have to file a claim for a service-connected disability. Many of them don't feel, oh, I don't want to do that. That was my situation for 15 years after I retired. I had many of my veterans friends tell me, wherever have you applied for disability? Nah, that's okay. I don't need the money. Or my mindset was it's a welfare program, and it's not a welfare program. It's not like welfare. It's not same thing as Social Security disability. This money is set aside to take care of me if and they have to budget for the maximum care possible. That means if I was 100% disabled, there has to be money there to take care of me. Because eventually, even if I'm healthy when I'm retiring, eventually I'm going to reach the age to where I no longer have the ability to take care of myself. And so there's all kinds of programs to take care of these veterans. A lot of veterans end up homeless because they do not understand what the resources they have access to. They don't understand who to go to. But with that said, if you are a veteran and you want to have more information about this, please reach out to Dr. Wiedemann. He's basically, him and I work together as a team, and we can point you in the right direction. I can help you get started with filing your VA disability. Now, let me talk a little bit about how VA disability works. VA disability is protected by Congress. No judge, attorney, wife, or ex-wife can touch this VA disability. That's a good thing. So if you are, let's say, 50% disabled, you're getting this money. It's completely tax-free, And that money cannot be attached by garnishment or any kind of court order. It is specifically for that veteran. That is in addition to your pension if you're a retiree, or if you are medically retired. That's a medical retirement is also you get a pension. So now one of the things is that the VA money is paid out from a separate pot of money than your pension is. And so I did not know that. So when I first applied for my VA disability, I just walked down to the Salt Lake City VA Center in 2014, and I had a copy of my medical record. And in my medical record, when I actually retired, my retirement physical was done by a diving medical officer. He says, Marvin, says, I just glanced over your medical record, and there's at least 7 different entries in your medical record that would entitle you to what we call service-connected disabilities. Now, I didn't research that. He said, I'm going to forward this to the Salt Lake City VA. They'll be reaching out to you. Well, that never happened because they don't do that. So I was busy, getting settled in, new career, new job, going back to school, and I got my engineering degree. And so time went on, got a job, worked for defense contracts and things like that. And eventually, one thing led to the next. And, I ended up working with Dr. Wallach, teaching people how to recognize, nutritional deficiencies. Of course, one of the things I noticed is I was coming across a lot of musculoskeletal problems. Not only in myself, I had a lot of musculoskeletal problems, but also in veterans and also people, senior citizens. And we've seen these musculoskeletal issues arise out of a lot of these young athletes. A lot of kids are not able to get into the military because they can't pass the physical examination because of musculoskeletal disability. Or they can't go into pro basketball, football, or any of pro sports because they have a musculoskeletal problem. So this is what got me kind of interested in, okay, and that's one of the things that kind of drove me to longevity is because I had severe musculoskeletal issues. Now, I did not know at the time that my musculoskeletal issues were directly related to my service connected, because I did not do my research. The VA had put out some guidelines in 2005 about individuals who had been diving with mixed gas or pure oxygen, the long-term side effects on your musculoskeletal system, and how to adjudicate these cases. Well, I discovered that letter years and years later, but when I first went to the VA at Salt Lake City in 2014, not knowing what I was doing, I applied for disability, and lo and behold, in my medical record, it says I had ringing of the ears. I got rated for that. And then also I had lower back problems and a lot of low back problems. And I didn't even get an MRI. I just went and I just made a copy of my I didn't even make a copy of my medical record. I just filled out your lower back problems. And they came back and they gave me a service connected for my ringing of my ears. Okay. Now I had severe hearing loss at the time. Now I did not know I could get service rated for hearing loss. I did not realize that there were secondary conditions to my hearing to my service connected. Things like insomnia, not able to sleep. And so there's a lot of things that a veteran is entitled to get. For example, you have a primary disability. That primary disability may aggravate a secondary disability. For example, my lower back. My lower back, I had numerous, because of my parachute accident, which was well documented, I went back and I got MRIs of my lower back, even after they had given me a service-connected disability. So the MRIs showed much more damage to my lower back and my upper cervical neck than I had ever anticipated. And also because of my, and this is consistent with not only my parachute accident injury, but also consistent with all the findings they're finding out with service members who had been diving with pure oxygen or mixed gas, long-term side effects of these musculoskeletal problems. Well, what I decided to do is I did not pursue a veterans organization that guarantees you a service-connected disability, because what they'll do is they'll write a nexus letter, and they know how to write letters to get you a service-connected rating. Well, if you don't have the current MRIs and stuff like that to back up your musculoskeletal injuries, the VA can come back and a year later ask you for an interview, for a review. And if you cannot prove that the condition is is worsened or the same, they can downgrade your disability, and you can never come back and reapply for that because you don't have new and relevant evidence. So for me, I decided, well, I'm going to go ahead and because I have my health care paid for through TRICARE Prime, we pay for that. We pay for that insurance. So I just got my TRICARE Prime provider to give me authorization to get MRIs on my knees, my ankles, my hips, my lower lumbar, my upper spinal column, all those. I mean, everything. And from that, we were able to determine that a lot of my health challenges were stemmed from a musculoskeletal failure. As a result, when I submitted this to the VA, they did not dispute my claim, and I was able to increase my rating from service-connected disability where I didn't have before. Okay, so that's the route I took. Now, with that said, since during this time period, the Obama administration, I want to give them credit for this, they passed a law called the Burn Pit. It's called the PACT Act. A lot of veterans don't realize that the PACT Act allows them to go way back, as far back as Vietnam, Agent Orange exposure. There's a lot of Vietnam veterans who've been exposed to Agent Orange and have died from what are called pre-assumptive conditions. So they've listed a whole bunch of pre-assumptive conditions that these veterans suffer from because of exposure to Agent Orange and also from burn pits. So if you were in certain geographical areas during the first Desert Storm, and since then, you qualify for what we call burn pit exposure. And so there are veterans that can go back and get recovered disability even if they have passed on. Their dependents can go back and file a claim on their behalf and get compensated for that. And I know veterans have got thousands and thousands of dollars of compensation, and I know dependents who've got thousands and thousands of dollars of compensation for a veteran that has passed on because of pre-existing conditions. So those are things that are available to us. Now, the VA is not going to chase you down. Oh, Mr. Rob, we're going to send you a letter and saying that, since you were deployed in Kuwait during Desert Storm, with you qualify for X, Y, and Z. They don't do that for you. You have to actually apply for this, and they will determine if you're eligible for based on their guidelines. Okay, so this is not welfare. This is money set aside, and basically, when I enlisted in the military, in the Navy, and eventually 3 years later, I got orders to BUDS training, SEAL training. The Navy had to set aside money for my care, active duty as well as retire. And when I retired at 20 years. So there's still an active budget set aside for my Social Security number, called service number. They say, okay, Mr. Ropp is now service-connected disabled. We have to budget for him every year so much money to take care of him until he passes on. Now, the good thing is that if you don't, the sad part about VA disability, it's not even connected to your retirement pension. And if you don't file the correct claims, which I did initially, the VA did not even compensate me for being married or having dependents. I was leaving on the table over $200, a little over almost $200 a month because I did not declare myself as married with the VA, or I did not declare my dependents. And as a result, when I corrected the problem, they compensated me for my dependents, but they didn't give me back pay. So with my situation, I'm just going to give you some numbers here. Had I done this correctly when I first retired, I would have had an additional $750,000 tax-free money in my bank account. $750,000 over 25 years. That adds up a huge benefit. So there's veterans out there that are homeless that have access to VA disability that they don't know about. For example, just recently I helped a veteran. He was rated at 70% disability. And unfortunately, he ended up homeless. The only money he had was his VA disability and a little bit of Social Security benefits, but that was enough to keep him from completely being homeless on the street. He was able to relocate and reestablish himself with a little help of friends and veterans. And he's not out on the street. Nobody has to come alongside and give him money or food. He's able to take advantage of the VA healthcare system, and he's got a little bit of money coming in to pay for rent and food. So this
Hey,
veteran
Marvin.
here, go ahead, Dr. Wiedemann.
I don't mean to interrupt in the middle of a story, but I wanted to show how serious this is. I had a friend here living in where I'm at in the area. He was basically homeless because he was living in another guy's house. But he had been down at Camp de June, I think it was, and ended up getting exposed down there to the stuff down there, and ended up with type 1 diabetes. It destroyed his pancreas, and he died here just suddenly the beginning of this year, sometime around there, either that or in November, December, January, somewhere around there. He died, and he didn't have the disability from that. Never got his, went back and got his disability, which could have helped him. And here's something else: you can put that money, that disability money, in something called an IBC, which is an independent banking concept, which is like an insurance policy, or an IUL, independent universal life, and basically you're becoming your own banker, and they invest that in the S&P 500, so that whenever the S&P 500 goes up, it makes money for you. If it goes down, you don't lose anything. It's one of the best places to put that disability money over time, and it can help a disabled veteran. I was wondering, Marvin, if you could describe your injury with the parachute, because it was pretty incredible.
Yeah, just to kind of give a quick summary, October 1988, I was part of a 12-man team teaching some of the new guys that had never done what we call a combat equipment jump. With the combat equipment is free fall combat equipment. That's when you jump out at 12,500 feet or higher, and you have a military backpack strapped to you around your waist, suspended between your legs. You jump out of the back of a C-130. So what we did is we had 3 at a time. There was 3 people jump out. So you've got, basically, think about this: the center person is your experienced jumper. The people on the left and right of you, those are the inexperienced jumpers. The center guy, what he does a 360, slow 360, make sure the guys on his left and right are falling at the same altitude, okay? And at a designated altitude with 4,500 feet, we wave off. The inexperienced guys turn away and track away, wave off, pull up their parachute. So you have 3 people go out. 2 seconds later, 3 more people. And by the time you get to me, I was on the 4th group, so that's 12 of us. We exit the aircraft, because what they do is they put the heavy guys out front, and the light goes out. The light guys go out back. As a result, when you get all this works together, you all end up landing at the same spot. Even though the light guys, they can float longer and travel longer distance because they don't drop as fast. Make a long story short, the guy in the front, the new guy in the front, he decided to, because it's a training op, and the jump master did not inspect his backpack, he decided to put bubble wrap into his backpack. So he was a lot lighter. He's kind of like a floating balloon. He was a lot lighter than anybody else. So what happened is that he backslid into my group's airspace. It was about 500 feet above me in my blind spot. When I waved off, I could not see him. Now he saw me. I waved off and pulled my parachute. I looked up and do what I call a function check. And just as I looked up, sky and earth became one. What happened is that he came through my parachute and right behind me. He didn't actually hit me. If he would have collided physically, he would have killed both of us. But he came behind me and went through my parachute as it's opening up. And so as a result, it felt like I had 3 distinctive jerks, just like a black snake whip. Wham, wham, wham. And so you can imagine my helmet, all the gear on my helmet. Well, there's nothing to protect my neck, and my neck was just vroom, vroom, just back and forth, severe whiplash injury. As a result, I never went to medical to get an MRI of my neck. I was still breathing and kicking. So your tough old Navy team guy he's okay. He's okay. I did have a busted thumb, so they documented that. And I had a ruptured pleural line in the rib cage, but they never thought about doing an X-ray of my neck. So with that said, I always had problems with my shoulder and my neck and back, and I never had the strength in my left shoulder and arm as I did in my right shoulder arm. And even though I'm right-handed, I had lost a lot of strength there. But years later, this just kept getting worse and worse. Of course, MRIs eventually showed the severe damage to my neck, and Dr. Wiedemann was able to review my MRIs, and he was able to write a very detailed. What kind of report was that, Dr. Wiedemann, that you wrote for me? I
Do
can't
you have
remember.
a copy of that?
I do have a copy of that. It's buried somewhere in my computer. Yeah.
Oh, it's buried. And I thought maybe you could kind of break it down and go through it to show. See, I think the importance here is what does NUCA have to offer a veteran, in a situation like this? Because the upper cervical spine is very, very complex. And, I don't know if I don't think I have a copy of it here anywhere.
Well, either way, Dr. Wiedemann, you put together every single vertebra, and you detail the cause of injury and the secondary side effects and all that stuff, which, a neuropathy in my shoulder and fingers and things like that. And so as a result, the VA, I submitted this to as part of my VA claim, and I was able to get service connected from my neck, injury from my neck.
Yeah.
And so, which was, that's additional money that I didn't have before, tax-free money.
Yeah. Now, see what I did is I connected the dots. I connected the physical injury, the physical thing that you went through, and I connected the dots to the symptoms, to the physical misalignment, the measured misalignments, and basically stated that was clinically significant, consistent with injuries of this nature, which it was. I mean, it's just, let's face it. When you have a subluxation in the upper cervical spine, it's a very delicate thing. I mean, I have dissected many of these when I was at Palmer. I went and did special dissections of the upper cervical spine, and learned a tremendous amount about the close ties between the position of that vertebra and the brainstem. People think that there's a lot of room in there, and there's not. There's it's affecting the base of your brain, the brainstem, and it doesn't take very much misalignment at all to cause a big problem. I mean, it's a space occupying lesion, And what has your family seen in terms of your daughter was very, very verbose about how much importance chiropractic plays in her life. And how old is she now?
My daughter's 18. She's a senior at Weber State University, and she is what I call a mineral baby, and just, it's a brilliant. Their health and everything is brilliant. Now, when they turn 18, they kind of start getting off of their discipline of taking the supplements. But it's kind of funny. These kids, like my son, is at church camp right now. He didn't take his supplements with him because he didn't think it was necessary. He calls me up today, says, "Mom and Dad," it says, "I've got growing pains. What should I do?" So, well, you haven't been taking your calcium the last couple of days. And it's probably one of the reasons why you got growing pains. Here's a 16-year-old teenager has recognized what growing pains are. He knows that if he's been taking his calcium, his basic 90 nutrients with extra calcium, those growing pains would not happen.
How tall is he now?
Say again?
How tall is he now?
Eli is taller than I am. He's 5'7", 5'8". He's probably 5'8" by now. And last November, last Thanksgiving, I was taller than he was. By Christmas, he was taller than I was. And now he's 3 inches. He's good 2 inches taller than I am. I'm 5'6". I was 5'6".
Yeah.
I think I may have shrunk down to 5'5".
So here's this big kid, and he's still got growing pains.
He still got
Yeah.
growing pains, but he always, I mean, he's growing. He's, he understands that if he doesn't take his supplements, he is going to suffer. Now, it's interesting is that in May, Eli ran the 5K at the Ogden Marathon, and his age group was from 15 to 19, and he came in first place. First place in his age group. Overall, of everybody that ran the 5K, he came in sixth overall. Now, these are people, professional runners. He came in sixth. He doesn't even train for running like some of these guys do. And so, if he wanted to,
well,
he could.
they're both of your kids are black belts also. And what martial arts are they black belts in?
They have a black belt training called Z Ultimate, which there's three types of martial arts: jiu-jitsu, karate, and kung fu. Okay, that's taught together as one. And so basically, one is the arms, one's the legs, and one's grappling. So that's a combination of called Z Ultimate. Came out of Southern California. It's a very, very good martial arts. But the main reason we put them in martial arts was to teach them discipline and structure. And we talk about discipline. They are taught discipline in martial arts. You have to teach your children discipline, and anybody can be taught discipline. You don't have to go to a martial arts instructor for discipline. You can teach yourself. It takes about a repetitive action every day for 21 days. It's what it takes to break a bad habit, develop a good habit. Now, I would recommend doing that, more than 21 days. But if you can teach yourself to break bad habits, people do all the time. So my point is this, going back to the musculoskeletal problem with my situation, with my neck injury, because of the severe pain I had, and I had insomnia, which means I couldn't sleep because of the pain. I would get so tired, and then I would learn how to adapt to my pain by just, okay, when I'm getting real tired, I'll just go get a power nap, maybe 1 or 2 hours of sleep. I get up and work again. Because I work from home, I was able to adapt to that. But I did not realize that the pain was driving my blood pressure up. So blood pressure medication was not working for me. Not until I went to the neurologist because of some other complications of musculoskeletal problems. The neurologist acknowledged the fact that my high blood pressure was caused by pain. Well, as a result, when I went to my NUCA doctor, Dr. Dawson in Draper, Utah, we monitored my blood pressure before the adjustment and monitored after the adjustment. After the adjustment, it would drop 40 to 50 points within 30 minutes, my blood pressure. And so I finally and I document this over 6 months and provide that evidence to the VA. I provide evidence to my medical doctor, and finally my medical doctor acknowledged that I don't have any cardiovascular disease after we did a complete blood workup. Because I asked him, let's do a complete blood workup. I'll prove to you I don't have cardiovascular disease. Because cardiovascular disease is, high blood pressure is always connected to cardiovascular disease. So that's a true statement with one exception. If you have severe pain, it can drive up your blood pressure too. Well, that's rare cases.
Yeah. Well, Marvin, I'm gonna just put this in here. I used to go when I was in Kalispell, Montana. Dr. Fitzpatrick and I used to go adjust. We used to adjust each other. We would test our blood pressure before and after. We didn't have any neck pain. It's not the pain. It's there are centers in that brainstem that actually control every blood vessel in your body. So every blood vessel in your entire body is regulated by this center in your brain. It's a tiny center, but it regulates all the smooth muscles in all the capillary beds. So your body doesn't have enough blood to fill every blood vessel. If it did, you'd die. So what it does is it shifts the pool of blood from one area to the other, and as it adapts. And so if you have a subluxation of the brainstem, now in guidance physiology, now I don't have my guidance physiology book here to scan a picture in, but in the first chapters, it has a picture of an experiment they did on a dog where they raised the pressure of the cerebral spinal fluid, and the blood pressure would raise. So what they have found now with this with the study with Dr. Dickels in Chicago, now the late Dr. Dickels, Dr. Bell sent him over 6,000 patients and kept records on all these patients, and found that after Dr. Dickels got done adjusting them, they didn't have high blood pressure anymore. And it was so profound that he proposed a study through the University of Chicago. So the University of Chicago set up this study with Dr. Dickels. They gave him a certain number of patients that had high blood pressure, and Dr. Dickels was able to give a sham adjustment. Now, the NUCA adjustment is so painless and so incomprehensible that you can adjust the patient without them feeling it. So he could do a sham adjustment on these patients, on 50% of the patients. And the patients that had the adjustment, it showed that it reduced their blood pressure better than 2 medications. So, I know that you had pain with your situation, but not everybody has pain with this upper cervical misalignment. Sometimes it actually blocks pain. I've had people get adjusted, go home and call me back and say, "What in the heck did you do to me?" Well, when your body becomes incomprehensible to itself by subluxation, and a subluxation is a vertebra that's caused, as a misalignment relative to the segment above, the one below, or both, and to a degree less than a dislocation, causing nerve impingement. And so if the sensory nerves are affected, you may actually have a lack of pain, a lack of sensation. So your body, cannot regulate the blood pressure. We're built, now that they're making these Tesla robots, they're realizing that feedback is everything. Those robots have to have feedback. They're actually creating sensors in the hands and things like this so that they don't crack an egg and things like that. Well, your whole body is based on feedback. So you are wired through the nervous system to the brain to monitor, blood pressure and heart rate and, temperature and all these things. And so consequently, you remove the interference, realign the vertebra, and it removes the pressure from these centers. They have actually done MRIs, contrast studies, and they found that there's a restriction of venous outflow from the brain with the subluxation. So it actually causes a buildup of pressure in the brain and causes the body to think that the cerebral spinal fluid has a lot of pressure in it. So it raises the blood pressure, because why does the body raise blood pressure? Well, it senses that you're not getting enough blood supply to the brain. So the medical profession is all taken a look. What they have done is looked at cardiovascular disease as a restriction of flow to the brain, so that the body raises its blood pressure as a result of that. So if the body senses that, So you have to go twice a month, right, Marvin?
Well, what I do is that I have, I schedule my Dr. Dawson appointments twice a month. And a lot of times I will go as a walk-in. If I bump my head just a little bit, because my neck wants to go this way, ankylosing, because that's still whiplash damage. So all that damage been done. So if he can bring it back into balance, and just a little bump on my head, anywhere in my head, it'll go out. And so when I first started going to Dr. Dawson, I was way off. And basically the way they determine your imbalances, they put you on two separate scales, right leg on one scale and left leg on another scale. And you should be evenly weight distribution. I was off 15 to 18 pounds. Now I'm down to less than 5 pounds when I go to him. Once in a great while, this summer, I had one incident where I had a shovel handle hit me in the head, and I was off 15 pounds. That hit me pretty good. But just a
Wow.
little bump, whatever, um, I'm out 3-4 pounds like that. So I know when I go back in there and I get myself adjusted. And the reason why is because I want those muscles to be trained to stay where they are, and because they're used to being this way, and that they're actually what they're doing. That brainstem is really just tightening down on the atlas is tightening down on my brainstem. So
Yeah.
I need that flexibility. Otherwise, it's goes one way or the other, and that's what causes that pain. And so that pain drives up my blood pressure. Well, and credit to the medical doctors, most high blood pressure comes from cardiovascular disease, restricted blood flow through the capillaries, the kidneys, and things like that. And we've talked about that in the past. About there's two things that cause high blood pressure. Lack of calcium in your diet, not enough calcium, and which cause elevated blood calcium levels, and or um, you have uh, plaque buildup. Plaque buildup is from inflammatory foods. And so either one of those, the heart has to work really hard to push the blood through the kidneys, and that's what causes the high blood pressure. Okay, and so with that said, my situation was very unique, so it was kind of way outside the norm. But there's a lot of people out there. You don't have to go through a parachute accident for a whiplash damage, a car accident. And if you've been in a car accident or rolled in a car accident, I can promise you've got whiplash damage. So what I'd recommend you do is go get an MRI of your neck, okay? And that's the first step. That's what I did. I had no idea how bad my neck was until I had the MRI. And Dr. Wiedemann, when he first adjusted me back in 2014, he had no idea about my upper cervical injuries because I never thought about telling him. But because of his wisdom and discernment, he adjusted me. My first adjustment with Dr. Wiedemann, it felt like there's a rushing waters going down my back. There was a release of these nerve endings that I never experienced before in my back. It was incredible. But it only lasted a short time. It only lasted a couple of weeks, and I was back, adjusting again. So eventually we figured out why it is. And as a result, I have now got my service-connected disability for my upper cervical, which now pays for my transportation to and from Dr. Dawson, and pays for my adjustments. And so before, I had to pay out of my pocket for this stuff. Now the VA does not reimburse me for the treatments, but they see that VA service connected disability to help offset the cost for my health care. And that was most of my problems is right here in my upper cervical.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty amazing, and I think that sometime I'm hopefully one of the times on the show I want to go into detail. There is a software that will actually show what a misalignment looks like, and I hope to have that up and running and maybe show it on the show here sometime to let people actually see what an atlas subluxation complex looks like and why it's so serious. You remember me telling you about having found that people with transient ischemia, the medical profession wants to give them medication. And yet I've seen over and over and over in my years of practice that transient ischemia is, if you were to take a look, let's take a look at, lift your head up, and see the rotation of the atlas and axis. Very often the atlas will twist one way and the axis, the second vertebra, will twist the other. And there are arteries that run up through those vertebrae, and they get compromised because the vertebral artery, when it gets to the atlas, will take a 90-degree turn in, 90-degree turn forward, 90-degree turn upward, and then a 90-degree, when it gets in the skull, 90-degree turn that way, and then it serves the basilar artery and the circle of Willis at the base of the brain. So if you compromise the blood flow through there by physical misalignment of the atlas and axis in opposite directions by enough degree, you turn your head, you're going to end up with transient ischemia. my mother had that, and believe me, my late mother, she passed away in December of 2007, but she had transient ischemia, and I remember she went and saw her chiropractor up in Monterey, Dr. Steve McDonald, and on the way home, she got transient ischemia. I said, "You turn around and go back." She did. She was out of adjustment again. She had not rested enough after the adjustment. I told her, I said, "You need to rest 20 minutes or more after an adjustment for that vertebra to seat." So she did. She went back and got adjusted and rested 20 minutes and before she got on the road again, and drove all the way back to Las Vegas where she lived. And so she had problems with transient ischemia. So, and I've numbers of patients, and I would see, the axis would be twisted about in some cases up to 17 degrees, and the atlas maybe 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 degrees the opposite direction. Well, that's going to put a tractionization on those vertebral arteries. So, and a NUCCA chiropractor is really the only answer for that. And when I say that, I'm talking about the fact that it is a chiropractic specialty to adjust the upper cervical spine like that. Many chiropractors won't even touch it; they'll adjust everything below, and that's okay. I mean but it doesn't solve that problem. But I'll tell you something. Every vertebra in the spine has an influence on the body, and when chiropractors adjust lower spine, they're affecting you positively. But the ultimate is to get the atlas subluxation complex removed, and that will balance your hips. So it'll balance your lower spine. Ask you, Marvin, have you noticed a difference in your lower spine when you get adjusted?
Well, it's interesting you bring that up
with the neck.
I grew up with chiropractic healthcare, but never had an atlas adjustment like NUCCA. And I always had lower back problems, hips are out, and between the shoulder blades, things like that. When I switched over to NUCCA care, all that stuff went away. Now, being an engineer, I understand, if you build a building, the footer and foundation have to be plumb and square, because if you don't do that, by the time you get to the 80th floor, you have the building leaning a little bit or whatever. But Dr. Wiedemann explained to me, Mr. Marvin, your atlas is the foundation of your skeletal system. And if your atlas is out, you can adjust the hips and the back, but they won't stay, because the atlas is going to, if it's out, it's going to pull it back out of place again. And so that's interesting. I never thought of it that way, because it sits on top, not on the bottom. I'm thinking of, the foundation of your skeletal.
Well, it's a neurological thing.
Yeah. And so I noticed that I don't have any issues with my hips and being out of place, or my between the thoracic vertebrae. Now, what's interesting is that when my neck is out, my legs will be anywhere from 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch shorter. The left leg shorter than the other one. And after the adjustment, they all line up evenly. That's one of the checks they do. And also, which means my hips are properly aligned, my shoulders are properly aligned, my ears right here. There's a horizontal line from ear to ear, not like that. Okay. And so I've noted when I first walk into Dr. Dawson's office with a horizontal chart, horizontal reference lines, vertical reference lines and horizontal reference lines, I was like, good lands. I was, one shoulder was lower than the other one ear was lower than the other one, and one leg was shorter than the other one. I could physically see how bad I was. Now, I am not as bad as I used to be, but I can tell you right now, I have to rely on that NUCCA. If I don't, my blood pressure starts rising again. I can feel it, but I can start to get those headaches, and I have a hard time going to sleep. And so with that said, I cannot stress enough about, now going back to chiropractic care without nutrition is really, you've got to combine both of them. Now, for me,
that's what I wanted to I wanted to emphasize this. I mean, you've experienced years of both now, and but like few people have, and basically it's observing you and seeing it in myself, the closer relationship, the overlapping importance of both, keeping yourself in line and getting the proper nutrition. You know, they're not mutually exclusive. You got to have both.
I got a question for you both. Because this is for the people that are out there that are saying, is it dangerous? Is it scary? Are there complications with this? So what I want to ask you is this. If you're afraid of somebody touching your neck or hurting you while they touched your neck, what are the ramifications if they get hurt? What are the ramifications if they don't get taken care of? Doc, you could probably answer this better.
Well, I'm not certain I'm clear on the question, but I think what you're asking me is
I can re-ask it if you want.
what is, can you be hurt with chiropractic care? Well, I remember Dr. Crowder, my mentor. He was my, I interned for him. He says an adjustment is never traumatic. Now you stop and think about that. It's the reversal of trauma. If you're truly giving an adjustment. Now, there is a difference between a manipulation and an adjustment. And I'm just going to quickly go through those differences. And actually, I was actually the author of this concept in the NUCA when I was in the committee that set up the NUCA standards. Okay, there's 4 criteria for an adjustment. Number 1, you have to have an established normal. What does normal look like? Okay. Number 2, you have to have a reliable, repeatable, and reliable method of measuring how it's departed from normal. Number 3, you have to have a biomechanically sound method of reducing it to normal. And number 4, you have to verify the correction. Because, see, it takes 87% or better reduction of all the misalignment factors in order to expect symptomatic change. That's statistically what we found is it takes an 87% or better correction in order to do that. And here's the interesting thing. There is actually shrinkage of the nervous tissue when a misalignment occurs over a period of time. And when you correct the subluxation, you have to stay updated on your x-rays because the next time you go out, I have to be a better chiropractor the next time I adjust you because that nervous tissue is going to expand and need more room, you see. So, the difference between a manipulation and adjustment, manipulation just means skillful move of the hand. Much of what takes place in chiropractic today is a manipulation, when it comes to the neck and so forth. And I'm not going to sit here and say that none of that is, is effective or, because listen, chiropractic is over 100 years old and people have been going to all kinds of techniques for years and have gotten tremendous benefit from chiropractic. So I don't want to tout that. I don't want to tout that NUCA is the only ace in the hole with chiropractic. There are some other fine techniques out there. I mean, there's Atlas orthogonal, and there is orthospinology, which basically are doing have the same concept as NUCA. It's just that NUCA has done real in-depth research in things like X-ray alignment, repeatable and reliable patient placement, which was inherited from the BJ Palmer Clinic. And ways to measure the subluxation. Years of research on the biomechanics. Now, Dr. Gregory had a tremendous mind for biomechanics because he had been a machinist at the American Brass Company. He just thought like that. And, he was a tremendous adjuster. He used to have professional services, and the NUCA doctors who were taking his class all flew in from all states, all countries of the world to come to Monroe, Michigan to learn from Dr. Gregory. And he would have professional services, and he would adjust the doctors there. And I remember sitting in class watching him hold the x-rays up. He would give the numbers, the misalignment factors before and after, and he zeroed every single. There was one chiropractor that had left a half a degree of misalignment in. He was like, you think about Annie Oakley of NUCA doctors. He was it. He was the best adjuster I have ever experienced in my life, and I was fortunate to have been zeroed by him for several years in a row. He would take new x-rays every time he came, unless you have been. See, I used to go down from Wisconsin once a month to get checked by him. I drove all that way down, clear from Wisconsin, just to stay adjusted by him. So I didn't have to be re-x-rayed all the time. But, but anyway, to answer your question, the better, the more precise your adjustment is, the better your misalignment factors reduced, the better you're going to be. Can you be hurt by an adjustment? Well, not by an adjustment, but you might be by a manipulation. If it's not a verified correction, there's a possibility of injury there. And so that's, and I hate to say that, but randomness does not promote proper correction. And I don't ever want to be critical of my fellow chiropractor because one of the things that Dr. Crowder used to say to me is, do not get hung up on technique, get hung up on the principle. Now, I'm going to say this. I had a student doctor at Palmer. I got sick one time and I wanted to get an adjustment. Well, my student doctor wasn't around, so they found another student doctor that used a similar technique. He used toggle recoil, and he refused to look at my x-rays. For some reason, he would not look at them. He had this philosophy that he could just figure out things without x-ray, and so he adjusted my axis on the toggle table, which was the wrong thing to do for me, and I ended up with shingles afterwards. So I didn't know what else to do. I went down to Dr. Blackwood in Muscatine, who used Gonstead technique. And he took a full spine x-ray of me. He didn't take upper cervical x-rays, but he adjusted me with the Gonstead method, and it got rid of the shingles. So I don't want to sit here and be critical of any chiropractor who's good at what they do. If they're principled, they're generally going to get the job done somehow. Mm-hmm. And going to a chiropractor is better than nothing. I mean, Marvin, you've had experience as a child growing up with chiropractic care, and you benefited from it, didn't you?
I did. And, answer to your question, Doc G, if you are getting care from a chiropractor outside a NUCA doctor, a good chiropractor will recognize when he should not adjust you, especially if you have severe stenosis. That's bone spurs coming off your spinal column or severe degenerative disc. That's when a good chiropractor says, look, this is out of my scope of my adjustment because I could cause injury. And matter of fact, in my training lectures, I have a skeletal vertebrae, a little display, and one side is good, and that's 4 vertebrae, and then by the last one is actually shows a major degenerative disc and bone spurs, which is your stenosis. And I was sharing this with a gentleman, Abraham Walder, and he said, Marvin, my back looks like that. He pointed to the bad vertebra. He said, that's why my chiropractor will not treat me anymore. Well, first of all, is this, that's good news. Good news is we've identified the problem. So the reason why this gentleman got to the point to where his chiropractor would not adjust him is because he was not taking the basic 90 nutrients and additional products to support and promote healthy bones and joints. And as a result, when you don't bring enough calcium into your diet, enough minerals in your diet, you're going to develop those bone spurs, because the bones are made of calcium. And if you're not getting enough calcium in your diet, the parathyroid gland will release a hormone into the red blood cells. And those red blood cells will recognize that, oh, we got to bring calcium back from the bones. And as they do so, that red blood cell is the molecule, that red blood cell is saturated with calcium. Now, the medical doctors can see this. They call it elevated blood calcium levels. But as that red blood cell leaves the bone area, it enters the bone and it leaves the bone where the connective tissues are. That's where the blood vessels are. And as it leaves the bone area, it leaves a little bit of calcium residue on that tissue. For example, if you ever had experience with water faucets with hard water, the little calcification, well, that's exactly what's happening to your bones. And when you have not enough calcium, the red blood cells are pulling the calcium out of your bones. You become osteopenia, osteoporosis, and then all of a sudden you've got these bone spurs on you typically start on your heels, but they can affect your neck, and those bone spurs can start impeding your nerves to your arms and legs, numbness in your arms, numbness in the legs. So there's many symptoms that we can recognize that your musculoskeletal is failing long before it becomes catastrophic. Mm-hmm. And that's really what I want to.
Marvin, I want to mention something here. The parathyroids are the ones that determine that if the blood calcium is too low, and they start signaling the body to pull calcium out of the bones to make up that difference. And the thing with it is that one of the reasons why bone spurs form is because when you have osteopenia, which is the early stages of osteoporosis, there's actually calcium transport from the general part of the bone to the most vulnerable part of the bone, which is where the ligaments attach, and that's why the spurs will form there. There's lots of times where the Achilles tendon there will be a spur forming right there to try to strengthen the bone to keep an avulsion fracture from happening. So that's why you can get spurs. And sometime we'll have to show that model on the show here, Marvin. That the one I got you to get that time, of the four vertebrae,
right,
showing the spurs and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And what I like to do as we finish up here, I like to take you to our online training academy and kind of do a quick walkthrough where you can find testimonials, lectures, and interviews, and also how to do the health survey. If you have any of these symptoms, it's really simple to go ahead and go to the online training academy. So let me just pull up that screen here, and we'll go ahead and go right into that. So here is, can you see, Doc G, can you see that?
Yes, we can. Yes.
Okay, because I cannot see my screen when I'm talking, so I'm just looking at the screen. I'll make sure everybody can see this screen. So what you're seeing here, for those of you who don't have a video, the audio here is basically, it's my90forlife.com, and basically you can go on the bottom of your screen. It tells you specifically what website to go to, and this is actually Dr. Wiedemann subscription to the My90 for Life, and in there you can go to. It's there's no cost to the clients to go in there. And right now we are on the Dr. Wallach tab. If you look at Dr. Wallach tab, it's highlighted in red. On the left-hand column, you have interviews, testimonials, a lot of information in here. So let's just come in here, and we can look on personal testimonials underneath the Dr. Wallach tab, and it pulls up all kinds of videos. Well, right here, we have arthritis. Everybody talks about arthritis and musculoskeletal problems, back issues. I mean, so there's your documentation. We have people there that share their testimony about musculoskeletal problems. Now, there's lectures. Dr. Wallach has lectures here. And in here, he's got all kinds of lectures, all kinds of different types of subjects here that interest you. And you can see here, there's actually 5 different lectures that he put together for us regarding the musculoskeletal system. These are invaluable training. Dr. Wallach's no longer physically able to travel and provide us these lectures and seminars, but we've recorded them, put them online for people to actually review them. Now, let's say, for example, look, I've heard you talk about the basic 90 nutrients. I've heard you talk about, Dr. William talk about the health survey. Well, let's come over here to the health concerns tab. In the health concerns tab, you can click on the drop-down menu. There's a health survey. And notice every time I navigate to a subcategory of the website here, it's highlighted in red. And the reason we did that is because there's so much information in these tabs, categories, subcategories, that we needed to have a reference point where we're navigating to the website. So anytime you see something highlighted in red, the main tab across the top is in red, the subcategory is in red as well. So let's click on the health survey tab. In the health survey tab, there's actually a video that starts and teaches you how to fill out the health survey. We want you to watch that first. Now, there's two parts. If you don't have any health issues, part one applies to you. But if you have major health issues, we want you to watch part two. Take notes. You may have to watch it more than once in order to, kind of get used to how to do the health survey. And once you watch that, you want to click on Continue to My Health Survey. And this here is a little disclaimer here that we have for you. We want you to read that disclaimer and then click here to agree and continue. And that will opens it up to a health survey with personal information. So for example, here is, we can just put.
I don't know if we should be showing.
Well, I'm going to clear everything out here. I'm clear everything out here so we don't show any of that stuff. So we're not going to do that. So basically that was information from somebody else, but you can put your age, height, the weight in here, first name, last name, email address, and your cell phone number. If you don't have a cell phone number, just put your regular home phone number in there. But then you have symptoms. You have symptoms of digestive disorders, symptoms of gluten intolerance. So just go through these and just select the ones that pertain to you. Now, none of these symptoms.
And if you're a veteran, you want to check that off. Be sure if you're a veteran, you want to check
the
that
veterans
off.
Box, yeah, for veterans. And so the reason why we have a veterans option there is because we're collecting data, metadata on veterans, who have disabilities. Now, when we say collect data, we don't collect the actual name. We just collect the symptoms and health challenges, and we collect the database of that. So we can look at, okay, out of 1,000 health surveys that were filled out, 85% of those had to do with musculoskeletal. So that's how we collect the data. None of this data is used for or submitted to any kind of data brokers. It's all private, and we are compliant with HIPAA. And so none of this is shared with anybody else. And so you scroll through all the way down through these symptoms, and if none of these apply to you, you just click on continue. If some of these apply to you, then you want to select the symptom that applies to you. Now, part two will go into great depth and detail how to finish the last part of this health survey, because we're asking you for a date of onset, which means when did you first see the symptom? And then we don't have to be very specific, just put a general date, it's month, day, and year. And then we also want to know what the frequency is. And that kind of gives us an idea if it's severe or mild or severe. And that kind of helps us understand something. So when you fill out a health survey, Dr. Wiedemann will get this health survey emailed to you as well as to yourself. So you have an email, you get a copy of this, Dr. Wiedemann will copy this because you agreed to Dr. Wiedemann to be able to review your health survey, because that's the only way we can actually help you. Now, once you complete your health survey, it's going to give you a list of products to take. And so that's where we, and some of these health surveys are, with a lot of symptoms, a lot of products come up, but we have a mechanism that will allow you to choose which symptom you want to work with first. And so those people who have major health issues, we want them to just get started with the basic 90 nutrients and make sure they can handle that. And then we'll work towards, let's say they have a severe musculoskeletal problem. Well, we want to restore and rebuild the musculoskeletal system, but we discovered that they may have a digestive problem first. So we need to focus on making sure the digestive system works first, because if you cannot digest your nutrients, you cannot repair and rebuild your musculoskeletal system. So the musculoskeletal system is probably one of the systems that we work with that takes the longest. It takes anywhere from 18 to 36 months to really get control of your musculoskeletal system, providing you have healthy digestion. So with that said, all this information here is available to you, hours and hours of training. And so what we've done here is we come online. We give you just a tip of the iceberg. It's up to you to continue your journey of educating yourself. And now, of course, you're going to have a lot of questions. By all means, get those questions text to or email to the email listed below on the screen there. And so we're here as a team, and it doesn't matter if you're a veteran. It doesn't matter if you're a professional athlete. I work with professional athletes. I work with junior athletes, and everybody sometime in their life will suffer from musculoskeletal problems. The more you know about musculoskeletal symptoms of a failed musculoskeletal system, the quicker you can adapt, change your lifestyle, and correct the problem before it becomes catastrophic.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Very good, Marvin.
And we have more, we can talk weeks and weeks on the musculoskeletal system. Now, the musculoskeletal system is tied to your immune system. It's tied to all kinds of different systems in your body. And when we talk about the systems of our body, we're going to go more into depth and detail as time goes on. But I just felt really compelled to talk about veterans and musculoskeletal system, my personal testimony, because there's so many people out there that are taking pain medications, and all it does is it just masks the symptom. A pain is actually a good thing. It tells you, hey, stop hurting me. Well, let's figure out why there's pain there. If you've got, arthritis, this is one thing. Is Dr. Wallach, as a former veterinarian, he says, why is it that we were able to get rid of arthritis in pigs back in the 50s, and we still have arthritis in humans? I mean, the biochemistry of pigs is the same as a human. Why can't we solve the same problem? Well, we can, and we can do all the time. And that's one of the things that when Dr. Wallach first came out with, he came out with a package of products called Pig Arthritis Pack. I mean, it's simple, and I found but you know what? It works. Pig Arthritis Pack is the same ingredients they use in pig feed to prevent arthritis. And
he had one called King Kong Cardio too.
Yeah, and it just we're going to teach you so much stuff over the next rest of the year that just take notes, and if you have questions, just ask us questions. And so that's where we're at. So we're actually over time, Dr. G.
Yeah. I have one suggestion. One suggestion.
Go ahead.
Do you think it would be beneficial to show the list of symptoms and their occurrences that's listed on the website, the statistics that we've already accumulated?
I am not quite prepared to pull that up because I'm not quite sure how to get into that right away. It's that data is buried. So next time I need to
we'll pull it up and show the statistical occurrence, because we've already gathered some statistics, and it's really
well.
Actually,
hold on. Let me see. I might be able to just pull it real quickly here if you bear with me. Let me see if I can do that. That's okay. Hold on here. Can you see the screen?
Let me put it up for you. Go ahead.
You see the screen? Okay. Underneath, I believe you have to be a member to find this information, but let me see. Underneath members, I believe it's over here.
Scroll down a bit. I think it's down lower.
Down lower?
Yeah, it's
no.
Reports.
Reports?
Yeah, I think it's reports. I'm not sure.
See, this is where I kind of, I was not prepared to share this live over the podcast, but
this is live, people. This is live going on right now. So no,
yeah.
It's okay.
So
symptom count down below. Yeah, there you go.
There we go. Arthritis.
Wow.
That's under Dr. Wiedemann's. How many health surveys have been filled out? Look at arthritis, joint pain, fatigue, digestive, indigestion, high blood pressure, backache. All these are connected to the musculoskeletal right here. See right there?
Yeah.
And so this is how we collect the data. Is the symptoms are listed. Now we don't know who selected of the 1,945 arthritis symptoms. We don't know who they are, but we're just collecting what they call clinical data. And so this is how we determine. So the most least symptom that we have, scroll all the way down, and let's see what the most least. Okay, here's one: joint inflammation. Somebody
Wow.
selected that. So we have got, I mean, good lands. We've got just unbelievable amount of symptoms here, as you can see here. Autoimmune disorders. We've got Hashimoto's disease, low thyroid. 43 people who filled out had that symptom. Kidney dialysis is part of musculoskeletal. 43 people had problems with the kidneys. And believe it or not, bedwetting. Matter of fact, bedwetting is a problem too. It of all ages, believe it or not. So this is just all kinds of symptoms. Now, these symptoms are not available it's only available to members. And you see on my tab, it's members tab only. So I'm showing you stuff that you have to can only access to as a subscriber. But with that said, if you go online to
It'd be interesting, Marvin, to have a global one, from all peoples.
If you were to look at my subscription, this is into thousands and thousands. But it's still arthritis is still on the top, and arthritis and joint pain are the top two. Doesn't matter who you are, because I have thousands of clients in my group. Dr. Wiedemann has hundreds of clients in his group, so I have a lot more health surveys data collected than Dr. Wiedemann would have. But this guy gives you perspective. Okay, this is the problem we're having, and believe it or not, orthopedic surgeons are making a lot of money on our ignorance. And chiropractors, if you're a chiropractor out there, you can make a lot of money teaching people how to restore, repair, rebuild their musculoskeletal system instead of sending them to the orthopedic surgeon. It's just, if you need a second.
Well, Marvin, here's
how you do it.
Yeah, here's the thing. If you know that NUCA can straighten everything out, which I do. I know that because I took full spine x-rays for years. You stop and think about it. You focus your area on the upper cervical spine, and straighten that out, get the head on right and and then what you do is you focus on the nutrition for the rest of it, because you know that if those discs break down with arthritis in there, you can rebuild those, and that breakdown itself can cause nerve interference at those levels. So you got the best of both worlds by having nutrition and having upper cervical care. So, that's how I see it.
I just want to share something with you real quickly. This is a bottle of plant-derived minerals. We have this in 55-gallon barrels for agriculture use. I have right now as we speak, I have over a million chickens on mineralized water. And the chicken farmers who use these minerals have tremendous success with it. I'm going to tell you a little funny story. I have this chicken farm, commercial chicken farmer down in Louisiana, and he raises fertile eggs. In other words, eggs for hatching baby chicks. Well, you have to have roosters with your hens in order to fertilize the eggs. Well, the funny part about it is these roosters are quite a bit bigger than the hens, and so because of the feed they're eating, they get bowed legs. The legs get bowed out, and arthritis in the joints, so they don't have the ability to mate with the hens. And so we put these minerals just in the water, 100 parts per million. And guess what? The arthritic joints, that symptom and stuff goes away, and they have no problems with fertilizing those eggs. It's amazing. And this here, in the agriculture industry, we use it for plants as well as animals. So it's not just for you and
puppy
I.
Puppy mills.
We have for puppies. We put this in the puppy water system. If you have a cat or dog, you spray this. You get a bottle of this stuff, and you just spray this on the cat and dog food. I mean, it's a night and day difference. If you have puppies with, especially these little fluffy puppies, we have hair all around the eyes. You see this brown, especially white puppy had this brown stain on their eyes. That's not normal. You start feeding these minerals to your puppies or cats, you will not have that teardrop stain on the hair. Those eyes will get nice and clear and glossy. It's incredible difference. They're very very resilient. We have 3 cats in our house. All 3 cats get these minerals, and the oldest cat is 10 years old, and she's just as frisky as she was when she was 2 years old. I mean, it's just so if you really want to test out these minerals, if you've got a pet, try it on your pet first. Well, if it works on your pet, I can guarantee it works on you. The key is, are you disciplining yourself to do it on a daily basis? And we talked about discipline in the very beginning. A lot of us struggle with discipline, and that's just a normal human behavior, So it's okay to struggle. I've struggled in my lifetime disciplining myself and there's times when I've skipped a couple of days, and I can tell the difference. If I don't take my minerals, I can tell the difference. Now, I like to have a bottle of these minerals next to my shower. After I get out and dry off, I just spray some minerals on my skin. Matter of fact, you can absorb minerals into your skin, then you can through your digestive system, because if you get too many minerals in your digestive system, it causes diarrhea. Well, spraying on the skin, it doesn't cause that. So this you can't beat this stuff for this price. This right here, bottle of minerals, is $23.95. Hold it up to $23.95.
Yeah.
And item number 13203. Now, is that backwards? Does it read backwards, or can you see it correctly?
I can read it.
Okay.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay. So my point is this: is that everybody can afford 2 bottles of plant minerals. 1 bottle of plant minerals is 100 pounds of body weight. So if you weigh 200 pounds, just start out with the minerals. The minerals is 2/3 of our nutritional nutrients. It's part of the basic 90 nutrients. And we've talked about
and
the minerals.
You can order these right straight through the site, the website too.
Dr. Wiedemann can help you set up your account, and he can become part of the team. It's no cost to become a preferred customer, and you can sign up and you can get your minerals. Now, if your order is less than $100, they'll charge you 10% shipping. But if you have an order of $100 or more for a monthly auto ship, it's free shipping. I mean, you can't beat that. You add that 10% over 12 months, that's equivalent to 1 month of product free over a 12-month period. So this is, I myself would rather invest in these supplements than pay money on pharmaceuticals. I mean, I have no problem taking pharmaceuticals, but that's my last resort. I'd rather be healthy. I'll be 65 in less than 6 months. I'm able to still do yard work, still go travel, and do things with my family that I couldn't do. Now, I have some disabilities, but it's not stopping me from doing some yard work. I can't do what I used to do because of my back problems, neck problems, but I still go out there and pull weeds. That's my physical activity. And so my point is this, is that there's so many people work all their life. They put away money. They cannot enjoy their retirement because the skeletal system has failed them, and they're sitting there gaining weight. Next thing you know, they're getting knee surgeries, hip surgeries, and their dream of traveling with a fifth wheel when they retire or traveling somewhere overseas has just vanished from them. I know so many people.
Or hiking, hiking or mountain biking, or, all these things you dream about doing. Fishing, to cast for fishing, it takes a healthy shoulder and elbow, and wrist, and if your wrist is hurting and things like that, it isn't any fun. So.
And I know people who cannot go bow hunting anymore because they cannot pull the bow back because they had shoulder pain. And so I sit them down and say, look, just because you're 65 doesn't mean you can't go hunting. You get that shoulder healthy. Rotator cuff surgery is not going to is only temporary. But even if you had rotator cuff surgery, even if you had joint replacement surgery, you take these supplements to strengthen those bone density. You strengthen that bone density, your joint replacement surgery will last a lot longer. And if your bone density, you start losing bone density, that artificial joint into your bone marrow, that bone will, if it doesn't support that weight, that bone will succumb to that weight. And then all of a sudden, if that happens to your knee, they will amputate your leg. I know a lot of people who got knee replacement surgery, but they didn't do anything about increasing bone density. And eventually they had to get another surgery, or what happened? They had catastrophic failure of that joint because the stainless steel rod that goes into the bone marrow, that bone density, that bone could no longer support it. It's brittle and it just ruptured. And now they don't have anything to attach anything to, so they have to amputate the leg. That's the worst case scenario.
Yeah. Yeah. And just, even if you've had a hip replacement or a knee replacement, you can at least supplement yourself and strengthen the bones that's remaining,
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
so anyway,
Good stuff,
Well,
guys.
there you go.
we had some great stuff here. We got more stuff coming up. We'll see you next week, right?
Right.
Absolutely.
Bob
Everybody,
Schroeder.
I want everybody to check out Dr. Robert Wiedemann's website, which is, his email is healthreform90@gmail.com. You can text him at 406-270-3754 or go to www.getdocsminerals.com. Thank you, guys.